Hello, I'm Seb, or Camus, if you want to go all artisty. I have a new song called Air, and it's out today. I'm a producer, artist, kind of mixing engineer because I mixed this. And yeah, I just wanted to break down my new track Air. If you haven't heard it already, it'll probably make a bit more sense if you listen to Air before you watch this video. And I'll let Past Me take over from here. So I've come to the realization that my audience is like a lot of people that like kind of care but not really, and then a few people who actually like are interested in this shit. There are heaps of little things which I get fucking excited about and want to share with people, but I don't know how to. So I was like, yeah, this will probably be a fucking good way to do it. Here we go. I'm gonna go through the session. There are multiple sessions to this because I recorded the strings in a different one and the vocals in a different one because there were just so many, and I'll show you those as well. Apparently I'm a fucking YouTuber now, so let's go. I'm just kind of winging this, to be honest. So I'll start with drop 2. This is the unmixed version, so stuff is less clear and there'll be a few slight differences, but for the most part this is everything. I started this tune off by making the synth and the chords, and then when I got that I was like, fuck, this is a vibe. These are the chords for any of you guys who want to try and interpret them. The thing about these chords is they're very jazzy and very closed voicing. So all the, as you can see, all the notes are together. I basically just like did those and then moved them around a bit and then moved the bass line, which kind of gives like a very jazzy feel. Only the last chord kind of deviates from that quite a bit. I made the synth on my mini log, so it's, as you can see, XD out. That's my analog synth. It's basically just heaps of saw waves put together with some chorus. I've done a lot of talking here. I should probably just play some shit, eh? And then just some chorus, some little altar boy, which I actually use. I pitch it up an octave and it gives a really metallic sound with a slight bit of wet. And some reverb, obviously, in the chorus. And then sidechain compression, obviously. Gives it that pump. And then decapitator for fatness. There's a string note in here. It's like a very disco thing. I made these little effects, which are like reverse chord things, which go in the sides of your ears. I like them. I really like them. They're just some random synth, which I found, and then cut them up and reversed them. So altogether, the melodic sections. And there's a whistle there as well. There are just a few synths in the verses doing different shit. It's like a similar synth to the one in the drop, but more tame. And opening the filter, obviously. I think what I've done here is I've changed the voicings so that they're rising when it gets to here, rather than descending in the drop. So it's a similar progression, but it's just rising. And there's like some of these. Twinkly boys. And then I got some drums over it. Fucking hell, it's vibe. Going through this phase where I'm like making kind of disco-y percussion sort of thing with the big snare. So it's like the kick, which I spent ages making this kick. How did I make this kick? It's called my Darius type kick, which is obviously copying the artist Darius. I like listened to heaps of his tracks and tried to make the kick. And I did, and I fucking like it. It's got like a nice punchy thumpy 100 hertz, like a good tail as well. And it fit really well with this snare. Actually, I'll take off the claps. It just has a bit of snare buzz and some gated reverb, or just room reverb. And then added a couple layers of claps. And added a wood hit. And altogether you got... And then there is some reverse clap hits in here. So you got like... And some reverse snares. Basically I just put heaps of reverb on like a clap or snare and then reverse it. Basically what that is a reversed clap, but it's me getting this filter, moving this filter around to give it a sound. Or it's fun. I'm a big fan of that. And then the tambourines, these are big for the groove because I wanted to keep it all really swung, so it's like tick, 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 rather than some are swung, some are straight. I don't know, there's heaps of layers of that shit. It works. Oh yeah, I added some live hats. So there's just heaps of little fuckers in there. That's like the groove, is in the tabs. And then you just got the big coming in. The final thing I want to show you with the percussion is the fills. Listening to a lot of Darius, as I said, he uses a lot of 808 sounds. So the clav and the conga specifically. Like little tiny little things in the sides of your ears. And the rim shot from the 808. If you don't know, the 808 is a drum machine, which is like one of the most fucking famous ever. It was originally a failure, but then people started using it tons. And it also has heaps of fucking iconic drum sounds that you hear in like everything. And then the tom here, Oh yeah, and finally there are a couple fills in here. So I chopped up this like live loop with some snares to like make these fills. I stole this from You and Me by Flume. It's not actually white noise. It's a crash cymbal and then like a canister spray. There's one left and there's one right. Oh, and some tape hiss. So altogether it's like... That's not white noise. It sounds like white noise, but it's just a bit more interesting. This is going to be long as fuck. Jesus. Okay, actually onto the bass now. Yeah, so the main layer, the main bass, which is the whole bass, is this. With like, there's a sub under it, which you don't hear unless you've got like a massive speaker. I think I kept this in, it's like an 808. It's barely audible. So the main layer is this. Without any effects, this is this. And I'm pretty sure what that is, haha, it is. You know Numb by Hayden James? Well, the chorus has lots of like horn synths. And ages ago, I recreated that song. There are like 3 different layers, and this is probably the bass layer. And I adjusted it here a lot, decreased the attack, closed it a bit, but that's basically it. It's like a wow, 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 wow with like a saw wave. So one by one, I'm just getting rid of a bit of sub. I think that was because the sub's sitting under it. The decapitator's doing most of the heavy lifting. Driving on P, whatever P is. And then obviously sidechain. More decapitator apparently? Oh, that's what this is. So you hear that little buzz in the top. So that's just me doing a very high cut and then distorting the shit out of the high end, which gives it like a buzz. And that I sometimes do that to get a bass to like cut through the mix so you can actually hear it. You can add like a white noise or a click or something, but that's a cool little way to do it. Here, there's a bit crusher, the Ableton one. So there's more. And then there's some chorus to make it a little bit wider so you can hear it in the sides. Barely doing anything. One thing I wanted to mention about these, it's the same rhythm as the synth, but the rhythm's like one of the main things that gives it like the swing, because usually you get the wom 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 wom, but it's kind of too straight. So I came up with this rhythm, which I actually don't think I've heard anywhere, falling over itself. Wom, 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 wom. Like on the first listen, it'll probably be a pretty unexpected rhythm, but yeah, that was the thought process behind that. Actually, I want to talk a bit more about the swing because that's what makes this groove so infectious. I often put things a bit behind the beat. What I mean by behind the beat is it's not hitting like because that's robotic and that's boring. If I zoom in, you see the snare. Actually, that's a bit in front, but the main snare's always a bit behind the beat, so it feels like it's kind of falling over itself. That's fucking essential. And similar with the shakers, they're all hitting a little behind the beat. That's pretty much the whole drop. except for the vocals. Now these are ridiculous. Basically, to get that super airy effect, I recorded like a fucking billion takes and stacked them all over the stereo field. This is just the bounce down version. So instead of like 50 audio files, we've just got one here. Give me the air, the air. If you couldn't already tell, I love sidechain compression. I love the pumping effect. If you don't know what that is, actually, for people who aren't like producers, which is probably fucking all of you who are watching, it turns down the volume, in this case, every time the kick hits. Usually you can just do it with the bass, but in a lot of house music and stuff, you do it with a lot of the instruments. Shout out to Tim Watt. In fucking Lover's Mind, I had way too much on the vocals there, and he eased it back, but because he wasn't working on this, I did whatever I fucking wanted to. So, thanks, Tim. Really, though, I actually wanted this to feel like it was glued in with the rest of it. Like, if I wanted a nice, clear pop vocal up front, I wouldn't have done that. But I wanted it to feel like it's just overwhelmed and being, like, squashed. So yeah, those are the harms. As you can hear, there's a lot of processing on them, so I'll go through that. Give me the air. That's with nothing. These are all recorded right here in my room, right here. There's a bit of acoustic stuff, but not much going on. It's all in processing. I don't think you need much these days to have a good sound. But yeah, I wanted these to be heavily, heavily processed. We start with some EQ, just getting rid of low mids. In my voice, when I sing especially falsetto, there's a lot of low mids, so I'm just getting rid of that. And I'm boosting tons of highs. If you don't know what highs and lows sound like, I'll solo them out for you. It's that low, like, stuff. And then I'm boosting the highs. Compressing, just fucking control the dynamics a bit. Give me the air. Bring up the soft bits, turn down the loud bits. Then this is what's doing the brunt of the work. These two brightening plugins. This is like a $10 one from Waves. It's pretty good. Give me the air. And turning down the volume a lot. Then H delay, which is just like ping pong stereo, making it all airy. Give me the It's an echo, if you don't know what a delay is. And then reverb. Give me the air. Some more EQ. It's just boosting fucking all the highs. There's probably too many fucking EQs here. These are just stacked on top of each other because they were originally group processed. And then this, I wanted to fucking annihilate this vocal. So I grabbed Decapitator, which, as the name would suggest, and as you've probably seen, decapitates shit. Oh, and the punish is on. So it makes it like, it's like just heaps of distortion. Give me the air. And I automate the wet up in like the intense bits. This knob. So if I turn this all the way up, yeah, you don't want that. And it gives it like a, which I was going for. There's some vocal effects. And yeah, I'll show you the effects. There's just a lot of random shit, like white noise. Yeah, it's just a lot of random white noise and crashes and stuff. But the cool one, which I do want to show you, is the breath, which I use this sound. You probably hear it in a lot of my tracks. It's in my next one as well. It's just a man breathing out. Because the song's called Air, get it? Get it? Yeah, and there's like a lot of white noise here, just a and everything's sidechained, of course. Yeah, that's like all of the second drop. I'll get into the strings now. I really like these strings. I really like those strings, man. Yeah, so basically I write strings on... I play violin, if you didn't somehow know, because they're in all my songs. I write them in the MIDI, and then I like put it on like a software instrument and then change shit around and then separate out all the parts and then record them. Those are the strings in the second verse. There are also some strings in the second half of the last drop because I felt like it needed to get even bigger and they needed to come back in. Actually, a friend told me that. That's these. I love the way the progression works with these strings. It's all kind of angry and but then the last chord is like a release. Actually, I'll show you the verse vocals and stuff. So that's just one take in the middle and then some ad-libs on the sides. You know, I'm feeling alright. Also, this plugin is like one of my fucking new favorite ones. I just use it for balancing here, but it's got a preamp, balances out the vocals, that, and then it's got a compressor. Anyway, it's just really good. I like it. So there's a center vocal here, which I melodyne, obviously. Everyone melodynes everything. But melodyne, if you don't know, it's a manual like pitch correction thing because no one hits all the right notes, especially not me. And then there's some dubs, which I just put left and right to like give it a bit more width. I'm feeling alive. And then there's just some ad-libs in here, which again are like tons of stacks. You know, I'm feeling alive. I'll never learn how to lie. All of this has tons of reverb and tons of delay and lots of that air stuff because the song's called Air, so sue me. I want to show you drop 1. I decided to make it like an anti-drop. I wanted it to feel like you're in this airy bit and then it like drops in. It's been described as a nang before. Yeah, basically I'd automate the pitch down. It doesn't have to like be as loud as possible to hit as hard as you want it to. So it's just bass and drums here with like the synths slowly coming in. And there's just the hints of the swing with those little bits of the 808 that I showed you earlier. And then there's this chord thing, which is it's just like an electric piano with heaps of reverb. Added like a reverse vocal. Yeah. Nice. This shit excites me, alright? I'm sure there's lots of random other shit, but for the most part, that's all of it. I'm now going to take you through the vocal project and the strings project. Back in a sec.